What's up, horror fans? Anchor Pete here. Shit, I already fucked it up. I don't say Anchor Pete anymore. Pete here from the Lastercast, and I'm with my co-host with the most, Dr. Zayas God, Danny Torkel. How you doing tonight, man?
I'm good. Ready to talk about Dutch horror.
Yes, me too. And we are talking about the movie Moloch, which just came out on Shudder. It is a foreign film, just like Danny said, and it is creepy as hell. We have two very special guests tonight to talk about that. One of the things I might have talked about before on this channel is that I have a writers group, and I'm really, really fortunate because I have some super talented published authors in my group. And one of them is down there, Brady Bunch style, Mr. Joshua MacMillan. How you doing, Josh?
Good. How are you?
Oh, man, it's good to see you in this context, man. I am dying to interview you for this channel, too, after we talk about this video tonight.
Oh, yeah. Whenever you want.
And then, last but not least, we have Derek Stockton. Derek is the husband of Megan Stockton, who is in our writers group, and she's an awesome writer. And Derek is a filmmaker, so this will be awesome to have a filmmaker's perspective on this movie. And I'm very curious as to what you guys all thought of it. So, Derek, how are you doing tonight?
I'm pretty good.
Yeah, awesome, man. Welcome. We're real happy to have you guys, and let's just jump into this shit right now. So, first off, this movie was directed by Nico van der Brink. Have any of you guys ever seen a movie by him before?
I have not.
Never.
But I did.
Okay.
I did some research a little bit, and I watched some of his short films. So he's legit. I like it. So.
Was his other stuff really atmospheric?
Yeah. I think even I think this is his first feature. So he did a lot of short films, which I feel like all had a really good aesthetic to it. So I think that he did really good with this film. So yeah.
Yeah, his other movies, he's got The Burden, which came out in 2019, and Sweet Tooth, which came out in 2017. Yeah. And I'm kind of curious about checking those out. I was going to say to Josh, don't you feel like this movie was written by Jay Mazer?
Yes. That was, as soon as I finished watching it last night, I sent a message to the group chat saying, basically telling her she needed to watch it if she hadn't seen it already, because it's right up her alley.
Yeah, the movie obviously goes into, witchcraft and like, spirits, and it's just got this atmospheric folk horror vibe to it. And if you guys have not seen this movie, if you guys watching this at home have not seen this movie, then I recommend you turn this off and come check us out after you've watched it on Shudder. But right off the bat, I just kind of wanted to go round robin style and just get a, idea from each of you. Did you guys like this movie? Just without spoilers. So, Danny, what did you think, man?
Yeah, I really liked it. The atmospheric is a good word that was already thrown out there. I think that the director has a really good sense of just building tension, like through, there's a movie that has things like curses and witches and, stories of witches and ghosts and all sorts of weird stuff. And then, and with all that, there's just some really creepy, tense moments that come out of nowhere, that don't really have much to do with the plot necessarily. And I think that he does a good job with that stuff. I think I really enjoyed it. I was just rewatching it just to get a better sense of like the legend behind everything. I'm a big fan of folk horror, and I feel like I'm wearing my Wicker Man shirt because of that. I figured it was a good shirt for tonight. But also I feel like this is one of those movies where I always come back to, I love foreign films. I love foreign horror films, especially because I feel like they're much more trusting of the audience than an American big studio horror movie would be. And I feel like where there is some special effects in this movie, that would have been like an overwhelming thing. And if this was an American film, and as a foreign film, it's much more focused on the characters, the plot, the story, and the effects are there, but they don't overwhelm everything else. And it trusts the audience a lot more. And I always love foreign films for that. So that was my long answer to say yes, I really enjoyed it.
Nice, man. Yeah, Josh, is it your cup of tea, man, or what?
Yes and no.
Okay.
I really like a good slow burn, tension building film. This one was precisely that. So yes. The only real negatives I had with the film would be some of the mythology was a little confusing, at least for me. I had to rewind a couple of times to kind of get a handle on what was going on. But it was creepy. It was tense. It was the sound design in the movie was amazing. I really love the music, especially the opening of the film. There's like this thrumming, just I don't know how else to describe it other than like a thrum that I fell in love with instantly. Yeah, I love the main character. The lead actress was really good. Yeah, she was the best part of the movie for me, aside from the sound design. But it's a creepy little feature that, you know, if you have Shudder, you could watch a lot worse than that. So.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, and then Derek, you know, you said you did a little bit of research. Is there anything that you found about the background of the movie, like the making of the movie? Because I couldn't find a lot.
Well, yeah, it's the folklore stuff. I didn't find a whole lot other than it's like Dutch folklore. But the movie itself, I felt like it was, like you guys said, it was real atmospheric. The production design was top notch. The performances top notch. Pretty much, you know, sound design was top notch. I like I think the character's name was Jones. I think I really like him. Yeah, Jonas. He reminded me of like Liam Neeson mixed with the Sarsgaard.
Yeah, I wrote him down on my paper as Dutch Tim Roth.
Yeah.
That works.
I like the performances. So yeah, I really enjoyed it.
Yeah. You know, you guys mentioned the casting, and yeah, you said like Liam Neeson kind of guy. I thought he was like super charismatic, and then like I felt a lot for Beatrix, right?
Beatrix.
And just her family, yeah, and just like the fact that their family seemed cursed. You know, I knew that something horrible was essentially going to happen to them, and one thing I should kind of reveal to you guys is that like her daughter looks exactly like my 6-year-old daughter. It like freaks me the fuck out. You know what I'm talking about, Danny?
I watched you and Clem do the video this morning for I almost said The Secret Life of Pets, Super Friends Pets, whatever. Yeah. And then I was just rewatching it because of what Josh said. The mythology is very confusing. I like literally had to draw a tree of like, okay, so Walter and Helen, and then there's a FICA, and then one of them is pregnant. And I was like trying to like do like a tree just so that I didn't get the mythology wrong. But yeah, Hannah, I think the little girl's name in this movie is.
Yes.
Yeah, she does look a lot like Clem.
Yeah. And so, you know, obviously we're talking about spoilers and stuff. The end of this fucking movie hit me like a gut punch. And, you know, we'll get to that eventually. But I kind of wanted to talk about the mythology itself. And you were saying it was confusing. I mean, Josh, you definitely said it was confusing. Did you guys take note of the school play that basically shows the mythology?
Mm-hmm.
I actually watched it with my mom, of all people, because she's watching my kid and she loves horror movies. And at one point, I'm like, is that an ovum? And is that like some black sperm just like spinning around in this school play? Yeah. Danny, you're wearing a Wicker Man shirt, and it's like that play just totally reminded me of the Wicker Man. Josh and Derek, have you guys seen the original Wicker Man?
Yeah, it's been a long time, but I've definitely seen it. And of course the remake.
We know, like in 1991, that's when that first incident happens for the Beatrix, and we see like the portraits of like 3 women in a line each, and so it's like, okay, this has to do something with lineage. So like, Derek, as a guy that makes movies yourself, like when you're watching something like this, are you kind of predicting how it's going to go too?
Well, story wise, sometimes, but I'm more like visual. So like I kind of analyzed how some of the shots were done. How like there was 2 jump scares in there. One of them was in the elevator, and the other one was in the window with a mom. But and I thought one of them was executed very well, and the other one not so much. But just overall, I look for stuff like that. As far as the story wise, I kind of seen like I know that all the bodies were, whenever they say that all of them had the slit ropes and stuff, I kind of was predicting it a little bit, but I thought it was pretty, it's pretty, I didn't see some of it coming, and like whenever I don't know how, are we supposed to give out spoilers right now, or
we can.
Okay. Oh yeah, the ending is what, it kind of got me pretty good there.
First of all, the beginning of the movie really, I told you, Pete, that I went in completely blind. I saw the poster on the Shudder dashboard. That was it. And watched the movie. So that opening really, it grabs you by the balls, and it starts to take you along this journey, But like I said earlier, it is a little bit confusing there in the middle when you're trying to piece everything together. But that ending, especially, and Derek, you had asked about spoilers. I don't know how in depth you're okay with going, but the book.
Spoil, man. Go to town.
When she's reading the book with the little girl on the couch at the end, and the mother comes up to the window. That was, yes. I was satisfied. Yeah.
Yeah, man.
I do think that the effects on the ghostly effects were pretty good, but the spirit with it that the girl was sitting with, I felt like, that was a little bit of a letdown. It almost reminded me of the Andy Muschietti movie. Mama, thank you. Yes.
Totally.
It reminded me of that, so much. But and I wasn't a fan of Mama. So I didn't really care for the effects. That was one of the things that I didn't like about that movie, was all the CGI. But the ending was powerful. It was impactful. Especially once you the movie made me think about it afterwards. I was thinking about the movie for a good hour or so after the credits were rolling. And if a movie lingers that long, there's something there for me. So I was very satisfied with it.
Yeah. Josh, whatever happened to your computer, I'm really glad that it did, because now you're coming in clear and it's not freezing up anymore. So now,
I think it's my headphones. For whatever reason, these headphones always seem to mess up, and I thought I had fixed the issue, but apparently I was wrong. So I just disconnected. I'm just using the desktop microphone. So that's why I asked if you could hear me all right, because usually the stock microphones on these computers are trash. So
you're good, man. Yeah, so it sounds like, just in general, that from you guys, everyone seems that they liked it on some level. I think that maybe the main detractors you guys are saying are basically like the mythology is kind of confusing, and that the special effects for the actual spirit of FICA were just kind of subpar, right? And Derek, did you by chance see the number for the budget of this movie when you're doing your research?
I didn't see any budget numbers or anything like that. I think I looked on IMDb. I don't think I've seen anything with it though.
Yeah. Danny, you compared this to The Wicker Man, and then Josh, you compared it to, was it Mama or Mother? What was it called?
Mama,
Mama, right? Mama. Yeah. So, is there anything else that you compare this to, Danny? Like any other kind of foreign horror films?
I mean, the only other scene that reminded me of anything was, there was a little bit of the It Follows vibe in the hospital with the little kid. Just kind of that scene. I feel like I had seen scenes like that in other movies where a stranger turns around and then starts following. But no, I had written down Mama because the spirit did remind me of that as well. I just want to, what both of them were saying, with the mythology, it was confusing. And so when I finished watching it the first time, I liked this movie. I didn't love it, but I did like it and I appreciated it as creepy and a little scary here and there. But rewatching it over the last hour, like, and I just finished the school scene where they basically tell the whole myth. I feel like it's a movie that actually will benefit from rewatching, because the more you understand the mythology of it, the better the ending actually does get. And I think that I think it's gonna have some staying power. Whereas it could just be a good, fun, one-off, slow burn folk horror movie, but the more you watch it, the more you pick up on like the that whole legend that they're talking about with Fika and Helen and everything. Then it really picks up on second. Like, it's a type of movie where, like, if you recommend it to a friend and then you end up watching it with that friend, you'll probably enjoy it more the second time, I feel.
Yeah. It's funny because, like, none of you guys mentioned Hereditary, and I kind of got some Hereditary vibes too. Because at the very end, you have, you know, the woman that could potentially be like possessed or something, laying on the bed, and then she's looking up at her mom, and her mom slits her own throat, and that just reminded me of Toni Collette, you know, decapitating herself essentially, right, garroting herself, and also just that idea of like the mother passing down something to the kid. You know, it gave me some Hereditary vibes, and like I kind of got that vibe right away, like seeing those portraits I mentioned before on the wall, you know, and I don't know, I really dug it too. I don't know if I mentioned this, but I think that it is creepy throughout though. Like when we have the bagman digging those holes in the beginning, and you don't know what the fuck he's doing, and then that guy Radu, you know, starts digging. Like Derek, did you see that sequence when like Radu broke into their house and like tried to get the mom? Like, did you think that was well done?
I definitely do. I think that was very well done. Especially got real tense at the end whenever he's pushing the knife in the mouth and then gets knocked in the back of the head. Very well executed, in my opinion.
Yeah. Yeah, that fucking knife in the mouth, man. That I was like,
Yeah,
oh, they're going the extra mile.
it was really good. Yeah.
Yeah, and then you know, that end sequence, because you guys mentioned the part in the elevator. That's kind of like the middle jump scare just to get us, make sure we're paying attention. Then you have that whole sequence at the end where that guy Jonas steps on the bear trap, and you know, the other guy from the site comes over and tries to attack them, and then the dad's having issues. The mom is like possessed. I thought that was pretty fucking chaotic and crazy too.
Yeah.
Josh, did you kind of think that like that whole family was going to be screwed over basically by the end of the movie?
I was trying to figure out what was going to happen. Mostly because they kept talking about this family curse, right?
Yeah.
Beatrick or Beatrick, or, you know, the lead actress, she kept talking about how with Jonas, how her family's cursed, and how you know what I'm talking about. And if you've seen the movie, you know what I'm referring to. When they're walking after Jonas gets sick at the bar, and there's that whole exposition dump there, right? And so I thought that maybe the town was gonna try to come after them in a Lynch style for a while.
Oh, okay.
I thought that maybe they were going to try to do some sort of burning of the house, something to that effect. I like what happened. I like what they did better than that.
Oh yeah.
If they had just tried to come with torches, I felt like that probably would have been way too easy, way too simple for what was already kind of, like I said, confusing mythology. Like, it wouldn't fit. Like, I don't know. I will say, in that scene when it's really starting to come down, and the father is in the woods, he's strung up the bells and he's kind of walking around with a flashlight. Derek, you might be able to speak to this more, but was everything kind of getting washed out for you guys? Like, I was having issues picking up details. Like, clearly you could see silhouettes of people like emerging from the darkness and all of that, and you're supposed to see them slowly start to emerge, but it just went kind of pixelated and all of that. I don't know if it was just on my end or if maybe you guys had the same issue or if it's a Shudder thing. That was another like negative that I would say on the film, but I'm willing to bet the director, didn't, because I really love the cinematography of the film. I love the look of it, the darkness of it, the tone of the movie was just so it was dripping with tension the entire time. So I'm fairly certain that the director wouldn't have just kind of let that go. Were you guys having issues with seeing anything in the darkness at all? Does that make sense? What I'm saying?
Yeah, of course. Yeah. When I was started watching it on Shudder, it was kind of like out of focus, and I was like, oh, is there something wrong with my Roku? But I think that's just like a Shudder thing. I don't think that was necessarily like the movie itself. It was like a little bit confusing at the end with all the different like beats that were happening with each of the characters. But I don't know. I was able to follow it along for the most part. What about you, Danny?
I mean, I didn't. Maybe I just didn't pick up on that. I was kind of during that scene with the dad. I was kind of into the whole like there's a bell going off over here. He goes and looks, and it like I literally was sitting in my bed just thinking, just turn and run the fuck out of there. Like there's too many bells going off. Just like get out of there. Like so like I don't know if I picked up on the issues that Josh was, because like the movie had me at that point. Like I was in it in the sense of like dude, get the hell out of there. Like,
yeah.
And so that's what I was focused on. And if there was like a tech issue or I didn't notice it.
Yeah. Josh, I can see your daughter over there, and that's totally cool too, by the way. My kid and Danny's kid always kind of pop into the frame when we're doing these kind of things.
She didn't listen to "Don't Unlock Dad's Door" and come in.
Oh.
She's trying to get me to go and put the TV on for her, but she has a mom that's in there that can put it on for her.
Oh.
So I can focus on this. So
yeah, well, as a dad of a little girl and stuff, and then also Derek, you have children too, right? Like, weren't you guys just really worried about something happening to that girl?
Yeah.
Yeah. That it was I think that's part of the reason why the ending was, that gut punch,
Yeah.
Because I really, with the mother walking up to the window and just watching and seeing that, like, I could not imagine. I don't know what I would do,
Yeah. Like Derek, don't you think that that's like more effective to have her like a ghost outside of the window looking in versus just like, oh, she's possessed and she's evil? Like, isn't it much more effective to have her like watching this unfold?
Yeah, I mean, I guess it just depends on how you want to execute that scene. But yeah, it could be more effective that way for sure. It just depends on how you want to play it.
Yeah, it's funny. We were talking about my daughter looking just like the girl, and like I took her to this restaurant in Austin today, and then all of a sudden she wanted to take a bunch of sugar packets home, and I was like, oh shit, I was like, oh no. So what do you go? I think we should like talk about that end scene, because I think that it is like almost like a 7 type ending. Obviously it's not on that level of 7, but some movies truly the end and how upsetting it can be, that's what kind of defines the movie. And I think this is one of those movies where it's like very slow, but then once you get to the end, that's it. And so like Danny, like just tell me, man, because I've been dying to hear what you thought of that ending in general.
I mean, I think you kind of hit it, and there's the added bonus, if we could call it that. The movie starts 1991, so Beatrix this is happening 30 years later, and you can kind of see now that 30 years from now that this is going to happen to Hannah.
Right.
So there's like the double gut punch of knowing that, you know, Beatrix is now watching the possess, you know, basically her body being used by Helen as like a vessel while her spirit lies outside watching. And then the double gut punch of knowing that 30 years from now, this is probably going to happen to her daughter, and there's nothing anybody can do to stop it because pretty much everyone is, I mean, unless Jonas is still around in 30 years.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, so yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I don't know if it's like 7 or missed levels of
right.
Like, you know, I want to. The movie's over and now I want to kill myself. But it's definitely up there on the like, oh shit, that's a gloomy freaking ending list.
Yeah. Yeah, man. You know, it's funny because like, you know, Jonas, the guy, I have to figure out a way to throw in that they had sex in a bog. I just have to throw that in there because like I'm sitting there watching it with my fucking mom and she's like, bog sex. I'm like, oh, yep. Like, like, yep, they're having sex in a bog, mom. Yeah.
You know, right before that happened, it was so telegraphed too. Like I know it feels like every time I say something, it almost turns negative about this movie, and I'm not intentionally doing that. But it was so telegraphed from the beginning of that scene that was going to happen. That they're going to end up screwing somewhere.
I mean, to be fair, I thought it was telegraphed from like the literal moment you meet Beatrix, where she's topless and she had just had like basically throwaway sex with like the music teacher at the school. We find out later.
Yeah.
And I kind of feel like once you find out her backstory, like you kind of get that like she's this lonely single mom who's incredibly attractive, but all the men in her town are like too scared to have a relationship with her. So she kind of has to get it where she can get it. And Jonas was like, they seemed compatible. That first scene at the bar before he threw up, like my first reaction was, oh, dude, you blew it. Like,
right. Yeah. Well, I guess her options are pretty limited, like you said. You know, Derek, you said that you did some research, and I was wondering, do you know which character she played in Blade Runner? Like, have you seen Blade Runner 2049?
Yeah, I've seen it, but it's been so long I didn't revisit that or anything. But it was from my research on that, it was a small role. I did look at the name, but I don't have it written down or anything. But I looked at her filmography on IMDb. But yeah, I did see that she had a small little scene in Blade Runner. Apparently, it was pretty good though. I did read some about it, but I didn't get to watch it or anything.
Because like for the replicants in Blade Runner 2049, there's basically like the one that's like hunting down Ryan Gosling, and then it's not her obviously, and then there's this one that kind of like is born, like is like activated by what's his face, fucking Morbius, Danny,
Jared Leto.
Yeah, Jared Leto, right? And then he like kills her, like he like slices her open, right? I was thinking that maybe that was her. And I know there's also some replicants that you see like that are kind of like prostitutes, like in LA at one point. And so I was like, which one is she? I was trying to remember, and I just didn't have time to look it up. But I would definitely watch another movie with her. And then the guy Jonas, like I said, he was very charismatic. He was also in that movie Valerian and the City of a Thousand Planets. That's that Luc Besson movie, but I never ended up watching that one. But I thought that they were great. I actually thought that the mom and dad were really good too. You know, the dad I thought he was kind of like a quirky, fun dad, and kind of sucked that he went out the way he did too. But
that scene, the introduction scene with the dad, when he asks when they're talking about who made the soup that he was eating.
Yeah.
And they have that nice little back and forth moment. That right there made me fall in love with her in the role.
Right.
It was just something about the way that the facial acting that she did in the movie was really good.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I thought it was real good. I want to check out the director's other work too. I think we kind of covered everything at this point. I wanted to hear what you guys had any like closing thoughts. Like, Derek, you got anything else you want to say about this movie?
Yeah, I have something that just kind of struck me was because the mythology was kind of confusing, but something that threw me off at first, but I actually ended up liking it a lot. It was it was all subtitled, and then Jonas comes on board, and it's kind of half English and half subtitled.
Right.
And he was, I kind of felt like I was that character at that point because I was like, I didn't really know the mythology behind all of it. And the fact that he was kind of an outsider, I kind of felt like that. So I feel like the director did a good job of kind of bringing that in. And I think that kind of helps ease into the mythology just because he doesn't speak the language. And there's even some scenes where like the dad's like, yeah, if one of your people will come out here and dig again, I'm going to basically kill them. And then she explains it a little nicer than how he did it. So I just like that little part of it was really, I thought really well played off.
Yeah. Did they ever explain why those guys were doing the excavation in the first place? I feel like they never explained that.
The woman was found. If I remember straight, the bagman had found that first body.
Okay.
But
okay.
they didn't like come out and say it. It was like inside dialogue, I think.
Okay.
That's how it came off to me, was they were there because they were called in because these bodies were found, and the bodies were like petrified women. So they came to study and find out what's going on, and then you find out that they're finding more and more and more.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, one thing that Derek and Josh brought up, what Josh mentioned, the scene with the Beatrix and the dad at the beginning, that one of the things, like just rewatching the first hour of the movie, like again, I picked up so many like little things because the woman has a very Beatrix has a very confrontational relationship with her mother throughout the movie. Yeah. And she's like much more on her father's side. And then you pretty much figure out why at the end because, yeah, duh. But also, what Derek said about Jonas speaking English and the dialogue scenes between him and Beatrix, where he's he doesn't want to reveal anything about like the science that they're talking about. I thought that's like a common theme in a lot of folk horror type movies where it's like the outsider kind of more sometimes very scientific types versus the culture and the tradition of like the small town. I got like a Midsummer vibe from that, where it's like you have these educated kids who want to go to Sweden and learn all of the, they just want to write a great thesis. And meanwhile, like they don't understand the traditions of, oh, we're just going to let the old people walk off the side of this cliff face first onto a rock. And I got and like, it was a little weird that like that conflict ended with them having bog sex, but yeah,
Yes. Honestly, like there is, bog sex. And my last name is Marsh too, so it's like extra hot for me. But like, I was gonna say that like, it's interesting because in all these folk horror movies, maybe with the exception of Hereditary, because Hereditary is not folk horror. I don't know why the fuck I even just brought that up, but it's same director as
Harry Astor.
Yeah. But my point I'm trying to make is with folk horror, that seems to be an element where there is like a seduction too, where someone from the cult or like the mythology, the people that live in the area seduce an outsider, right? Because in the Wicker Man, like on your shirt, there's Britt Eklund who looks slamming in that movie, and she's like dancing around trying to seduce the cop. And then in this, unwillingly, Beatrix is like seducing this outsider guy. It doesn't really, I don't think, play into the curse at all. But there is that. And then, Midsummer too. So there is always that element of like kind of being seduced by this like sort of ancient evil or this thing that's like an ancient tradition. So that's an interesting point that you made there, Danny, too. Did you have anything else you wanted to say as far as like this movie, Danny, or no?
Not really. I mean, I think we hit a lot of the points.
Yeah, nice, man. Okay. Well, cool. So, like, well, we got a little bit of time left in our episode. I kind of want to just have like Derek and Josh just sort of tell us about what they're working on and like if people are interested in their stuff too. So, like, Derek, you are a filmmaker, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And so, what do you got out there that our viewers can go check out?
Well, I've of course did a lot of short films. I did a movie based off of a novel that Megan wrote, "CRYPTID CARNAGE." So that's out there. We did film that it was my first feature film. So I've got a lot of short films out there on my Vimeo account that you guys can probably check out. Pretty heavily involved in the Knoxville film community. So I do a lot of stuff with the Knoxville Film Festival with contests and stuff. But yeah, with the first feature film that we did about 2 years ago, basically we filmed it in about 5 days. So we filmed it pretty quick and gritty. So I feel like it's the old saying where the novel may be better than the movie. That might apply here, but it's a great book. I'm sure you guys may have read it, but yeah, my current future projects, I'm working on. I actually just got done with the Tennessee Select 10 for the Knoxville Film Festival. We had 90 days to do a 20-minute film, so I just completed that and had that turned in. But that will screen at Regal Cinemas in September in Knoxville, Tennessee. So, but as far as future projects that I got upcoming, we're trying to get. There's a novel that Megan had just finished. It's called Blue Jay, and we're actually getting ready to try to film a concept trailer for it, and hopefully we can get it off the ground. So that's what I'm kind of looking at right now. There's also a werewolf. There's a werewolf novel that she's working on too, but I don't know which one we're gonna try to film first. But pretty much everything that I do, she writes. She's an amazing writer, so I'm real fortunate to have her to help me with that for sure.
Yeah, I was gonna say that I have really just gotten into horror like literature since COVID, right? And I've read a whole bunch of horror books in that time, and I have interviewed a whole bunch of horror writers for this channel. But your wife is like one of the best horror writers that I've seen. Like, just from reading her work, I was like, oh my God, this is fucking awesome. As far as what you make, because you said that your stuff is pretty much based on what she writes. Is that like your whole thing? Is you're a horror filmmaker, or is some of your other stuff non-horror?
Well, I mean, horror is obvious. It's going to be my favorite genre, but with these contests that I do a lot for these, like the Knoxville Film Festival, they may draw a genre for me. Like for this one, I'm about to do in a few weeks. So it's a 7-day shootout. So I might draw comedy or musical. Hopefully not musical, of course. But if I did, it's going to be kind of tough for her to write something like that. But I just, I kind of collaborate with her and writing some stuff like that. But usually just let her handle it. So yeah, it mostly is horror though. So it's kind of what I gravitate toward for sure. So.
Who are some of your main influences as far as like filmmaking?
George Romero, Scorsese, early Spielberg. I mean, it's Sam Raimi, just all the usual people that people probably would mention. But I'm also a big fan of Argentino horror. So Demons 1, 2. I don't know if you guys have seen that, but I like stuff like that. I'm really big on older horror films as well. 70s stuff.
Yeah, you're speaking Danny's language over there. I'm seeing a smile on his face. Yeah, I mean, just look at his wall behind him. Cool, man. So you know what I can do is I can put a link. If you just email me a link to your stuff, then if anyone's interested, they can check it out right on the bottom of this video. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I'll do that.
And then you got another. Oh, go ahead.
Derek, Megan shared with us in the writing group a little short that you had done. I can't remember what it's called, but it's the dispatcher one.
Mm-hmm.
What is that one? Widely
that's
available?
one that I can't really share any details on that one yet. So.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Sorry.
Well, then maybe I don't know if you can cut that out, then, Pete. Sorry.
No, it's okay. It's okay. I just can't talk about it. I had to have viewers that kind of give me some feedback. You're part of the testers. So.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well,
I mean,
that is the one that's going to screen in September though. So it's the it's the one that we did. You know, we had 90 days to do it and stuff. So it'll hopefully it's well received. So
I think it will be. I think it will be. It was really good.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, if y'all are like working as a team and supporting each other, I think that like you guys are just like on the trajectory right now. You know, one of the people that I interviewed recently was Wiley Young, who's a horror writer, and he and his wife actually just co-wrote a book together called Dust Bowl Children, and that's going to be up on our channel pretty soon. But just the two of them working together, I really admired that. I was like, oh shit, you know, I wish that me and my wife could collaborate like that. And I'm just kind of eager to watch your stuff. And, you know, and I like I said, I think your wife is super talented too. So, you know, I'm going to check that out. And then speaking of super talented, there's my fucking man who, like, this is his year over here. Fucking Joshua. What can you tell us, sir? What can we divulge?
Well, it's looking like a early to mid September release for my next book, The Death House. You've seen the cover for it. And I've shared it on Facebook, but it's not ready for like a full on unveiling yet, like with the synopsis and all of that. Yeah, it's a nasty, well, parts of it are nasty. It's kind of intentionally a tropey book. It's it kind of goes back to, you know, like Grindhouse era horror. So it's a fun book. It's a fast-paced read. Hopefully, you know, it'll grab the readers and drag them along by the throat. That's what I'm hoping for, at least.
Yeah.
So.
And then what do you have out there right now that readers could check out too? Like if they are interested in your stuff?
Right now, my debut novel, The Best of Intentions, that came out 1 year ago this month.
Oh, nice.
Early next month, I want to say the 7th of August, I'll have a new short story out through Splatter Inc. Publishing in a collection called CRYPTID CARNAGE. And that is it's a Bigfoot story. So if you like Bigfoot, you know, you can check that out. That has some nasty moments to it too, but that one's more character based. Then it doesn't rely solely on gore. It's and I'd say it's got a nice little gut punch of an ending too.
Yes.
So, but those are the next two things that are coming out is PACKANACK RIDGE. That's the name of that short story in CRYPTID CARNAGE. And that'll be out on August 6th or 7th. I'm pretty sure it's the 7th. And then The Death House, which will be in early September, unless something happens during the editing process. You know, sometimes, you know, you got to push things back a couple weeks just to make sure that the product that's going out is what needs to be going out. And I'm not going to half-ass it. So if I got to push it to October, I'll push it to October, but it is coming out before Halloween this year.
Nice, man. Awesome. Yeah, well, I will also put all your stuff in the description too, man. And yeah, guys, Josh's work is fucking superb. And I think that, like, just if you're into horror, like all the stuff that's on his wall right there and what's behind Danny, like if you're from the same kind of generation as us, then Josh writes to you, man. So definitely think everyone should check out his work too. Danny, you're on this channel called The Lacercast, right? Is there anything coming up for The Lacercast too, or no?
Nothing whatsoever. Well, Charlotte and I did a review of Pennywise, the story of It documentary that is streaming now on Screenbox and available to rent and buy on VOD. You and I did an hour-long deep dive review of Nope, which I thought went pretty well. And if you've seen that movie and you want to hear what two guys with beards think about it, you could check that out. You have, like you mentioned, you've just been on a steamrolling path of interviewing horror writers.
Yeah.
So, you know, there's many of them up on the channel. Michael Moresi, Laurel Hightower, just to name a few recent ones. So yeah, if you're into that, then yeah, we have a bunch of cool videos up on the channel.
Yes. So like and subscribe. Otherwise, we're gonna come to your house and make you slit your own throat vertically. But yeah, the interviews are. I got Wiley Young and his wife. That's gonna be coming out this week. And then after that, I interviewed Danger Slater yesterday. He has a book out called Moonfellows, which was just published by Max Booth III's publishing company. So I think I have a pen from them right here. Oh, that'll drop some shit. Anyway, I had a lot of fun talking with you guys. I hope that you guys had fun for this first time around. Was it okay?
Yeah.
Awesome.
Awesome. You guys ever want to come back on? We'd love to have you on. We can talk about another movie that comes out or something like that. But yeah, I guess until then, we'll see you guys all next time.
All right, thanks.
Yeah.
Thank you.